Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Business Podcast, where we discuss the realest, rawest, most relevant stories and strategies behind building every corner of a blue collar business. I'm your host, Cy Kirby, and I want to help you. What it took me, trial and error, and a whole lot of money to learn. The information that no one in this industry is willing to share. Whether you're under that shade tree or have your hard hat on, let's expand your toolbox. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Business Podcast. A guest I met personally, you guys heard me kick off the show this year with speaking with Aaron Witt of Build Wit, and they do something called Dirt World Summit. And on a couple of the episodes this year, I've already talked about how, yes, you have to sit at an assigned table. You talk to some different people than you normally would talk to, but at the same time, it's the conversations that are in between the tables that can be so influential, so crucial. And our guest today, I met in one of those conversations. He was a couple tables away from me, younger guy, like same age, kind of in the same age range as myself, running a concrete business. And we got to talking. We're both guys that probably could sit there and talk to a brick wall for 2 hours. So we really got to talking and dealt with some of the same struggles, talked on the same level of ego where we're scaled back and we're really vulnerable in what we're sitting there talking about. Because as you guys know, you meet so many different individuals across entrepreneurship and you know instantly if you're going to connect or you're not. And you know where they're at because of where you're at. And Kyle was one of those guys that I was like, dude's a G, what a guy. And then he tells me he's been dealing with California licensing concrete and subcontracting. So that's a whole different arm that we're going to go down, and I'm going to learn, and you guys are going to learn something about working out there in California. Is it as bad as they say it is? Or is he just used to it? So furthermore, man, you've been in business since 2010, did a little bit of small college time at Santa Rosa Junior College, and it sounds like you kind of figured out your pathway in life. But guys, I have the president of Harris Company Concrete Construction, Kyle Harris, man. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Cy, thank you for having me on, man. It's an honor that you were interested in me and wanted to hear my story, and you're out there in Arkansas and I'm in California, and we made it together. Same thing. Right when I think I was sitting at breakfast by myself and you and some of the dirt guys who were around me. I don't even know what joke I cracked, but instantly I looked over, you were like, all right, this guy, he's going. And then I started I like talking to you, listening, and it's fun to be at those events around kind of people in the same situations, right? You get pretty siloed in your small town or with your group of friends. So that was huge. Like, consider you a friend right out of the gate. And I'm stoked to be here, man.
Man, everybody's got a story, and where we started, why we're in what we're in. So, concrete's not something that you normally pick. Usually it picks you, just the same as water and wastewater. Nobody really starts off in life and goes, I want to go move poop every day. It's definitely a different path, and it usually picks you. And man, give us the background, give us the story as far back as you want to start. Love to hear how you got started and why you chose concrete and why you chose to start your own business and do it the way you've done it.
Just for all your listeners, this was not where I thought I'd be when I was 14 years old, right? So I always say a little joke: if you can't finish concrete, you can always finish concrete. Or you can't finish school, you can always finish concrete. Sorry. You can tell how my education went. But really young, grew up on a ranch. Did great childhood, but like no money, right? Mom raised me and my brother. So getting jobs. Started really young doing construction. She got this really cool boyfriend named Brian that was a framer and a project manager at the local company. So I started out actually as a framer. And so, floor joists and jacks, framing houses, all that fun stuff. But I'm terrified of heights. So I don't know if any framers are in, but once you start stacking plates and rolling trusses, I'd freeze. I'd be looking for a bathroom wall or something to stand on. And I remember looking over and there, he's like, you work hard, but you're not going to make it. in this framing situation. So did construction like through high school, always had like after work jobs because of Brian, always did weekend jobs. Like he'd take us to side jobs. I worked for this company, McDevitt out of Petaluma, did all tilt ups for like, we built like Amy's Kitchen. One of their main things, they have like frozen food things and Costco's and all that stuff. So big, cool tilt ups and concrete. And I definitely gravitated towards concrete because you're on the ground. It's pretty interesting. So I don't want to go too long. Right out of high school, a local guy that was like 3 years older than me, he already was doing his own concrete thing, like doing pool decks, doing patios, fire pits, like on a small scale. And I went to work for him. And I already knew how to frame and like construction. And Brian taught me how to cut rafters, use a framing square, work, had some common sense of being around the job and like growing up on the dairy, like being aware of the job site. So, man, I don't know why, but I just loved it all of a sudden. Concrete was fun. And we didn't do hours. So it was like, all right, today we're forming this whole thing and then we go home. So it didn't really matter. And then pour days is like chaos for people that are in concrete. They'll understand, but there's no like hours on pours, right? Like there's just the concrete gets there, and when it's done and our tools are clean, you go home. There's no like clock watching, and I got major ADD and stuff, so that was perfect for me. I tried a million jobs. I built swimming pools. I was an electrician. I worked at a muffler workshop. I welded. I framed. I did all, but for some reason, concrete drugged me in. So kind of accelerating now to where I'm at now. In 2006, as a 21-year-old know-it-all, I felt like I was unemployable because I was stubborn and the smartest kid in the world. So I went off on my own. That was in 2006 was the heyday in California. I mean, I graduated in 2002 and the economy was just insane, right? So I just had a bunch of side jobs. So I knew everything, left my boss hanging, getting pool decks, patios, whatever. And then '08 slapped me in the face. So my story is a little interesting. '08 was like, oh my God, we're freaking paying to stay in business. At the time, I was 23 years old by then, going nowhere. And went in this little Copperfield store and bought Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the E-Myth and a bunch of business books, and finally started learning how to read and reading stuff that I was interested in. You know, in school, they push stuff down your throat that you don't really know if it applies. And then finally, I had to figure something out because it's not going good. And so my story is strange, where I've actually been working self-employed since 2006, and I signed my own experience in 2010 after I got rejected from my license because of background history for 4 years. So I passed my test in 2006 in California. I kept going to background investigation because they're like, how do you have 4 years journeyman experience? You're only 21 years old. And to tell you the truth, I didn't. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was going and blowing and going. So by the fourth time that I reapplied, because your test is good for 5 years out here, when they asked for experience, I just wrote in like 5 lines of letters. It just said side jobs. So the background investigator called me and he's like, what is with your application? And I was like, dude, this is like 2010 now. So things are really bad, right? The economy just fell out. There's nothing going on. So I said, man, I passed the test 4 years ago and I have this whole cash thing figured out. Like you can't, unless you're recording this conversation, you're not going to catch me. And I'm taking licensed people's work. I've been doing these jobs. Like I got a crew, like freaking, and there's no jobs. I can't get a job. There's nothing, right? I'm going to keep going with no license, and you'll learn later on that probably was even better because license holds you accountable. It's a consumer protection agency. So, he's all, how do you do your taxes? I said, well, self-employed. He's like, well, if you send me your schedule, your K1s or Schedule Cs, I'll sign your experience today. So anyway, my license is signed from my experience, me. That's not the right path. Don't do that. I'm not recommending that. So that's how I got into concrete. And then from there, it was just, I don't know, ups and downs, man. We can talk about a lot of things, but concrete drew me to it. Just like the style of work is very physical. It's a pretty cool product. It's I think it's the second most used building product in the world to water. So like concretes and everything. It's the start of everything. And it's instant gratification. Like you poor dirt work guys, you do so much work, it costs so much money. And then we're like, well, what'd you do? Oh, where's all your pipes? I don't see anything. The concrete guy put this beautiful winery on top of it. You know what I'm saying? So like that instant gratification kind of drew me to it. And then when you're 21 and ambitious and you're doing all that, I was good at the trade. And then I got a lot of lesson about business. That's very humbling. And we can touch on any part you want from there. So 2010, finally got my license, 25 years old. And then becoming a businessman, I think finally set in, because before that, it was just a side job. A side job, but I had
No, dude. Literally, it's what a story, number one, to live through 2008. So many people had to live through that. And, people are talking about in the last couple of years what we've lived through and whatnot, but it wasn't anything like that from what I remember. But man, you hit something nail on the head. Like, you knew the trade. You knew the trade inside and out. Or so you thought. You'd done a lot of, you had a ton of experience. You probably poured a lot of different types of applications out there. But at the same time, you start on this business venture and find out so quickly that it's not about the trade. It doesn't matter what trade you pick. Business is business. And man, I learned the freaking hard way too, as I talk about weekly on this show. And if it wasn't for people I've been reaching out to, man, I don't think I'd have ever learned. And, in those early years, you have this ego because it's like you're almost, or I did, almost scared and fearful of everything. You can't let anybody know that you don't know. And I know everything about this trade, but what are you talking about? W-9 or, those first couple of jobs that you have no idea about the most general items of business, a COI, W-9, and then you start learning these things. And then you start doing some projects and figure out, I guess I don't know how to estimate. I don't know what my cost is. And it's all those items. But no, this is exactly why you're here today, brother. This show is exactly designed for a resource for gentlemen just like myself and you that learn to trade really well, but then, man, just got wiped out in business. But to go looking for books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I'm working my way through it for the first time myself. I'm not a huge reader, but yes, I'm starting to self-improve as well, as fast as I can. But, you made mention to me that you went also looking for help, or maybe did that run into you? Tell us a little bit about, figuring out those years of tradesman to businessman.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm going to keep this little path going. So 2010, 2006, 10, 21-year-old know-it-all. A lot of people are probably this is going to resonate. Just like you said, you don't want your ego hurt. You don't want to know you're wrong. You are a people pleaser. You're going to get cornered. Big contractors are going to talk you into shit you shouldn't do. You're trying to please it. So 2010, it's, I'm grown. I got my license. I think I'm the deal. I'm getting in with some big GCs around here. We're learning lessons on lien releases and COIs and retentions and what that all looks like. And then to around 2015, I was really over it, to be truthful. That was like about 2015. I was like, this was a bad idea. I should work for Peach&E. Like, this shit sucks. I think I remember calling my boss and like, dude, I'm sorry I left you hanging. Like, I didn't know you weren't on a yacht all the time. I get what you were doing now. So anyway, thank God. So great lumber company in Sonoma County. Actually, great company all over California, Golden State Lumber. Most generous people, successful in business, third generation, lucky enough to be third generation. Yeah. Lucky enough to become friends with them. The people taking over now my age, and they want all their customers to do great because they do great, right? They're very smart. They're like, we want you to do good. If everyone does good, they do good. So Rob Sherry, who's been a mentor and a friend, and I actually coached him in CrossFit, and he could see I was burning out at the time. I think I had like 16 guys and I was ready to go back to 2. And he's like, what you should really do is go to my business coach, David Parr. He coaches like all my leadership. And you're talking about a 700 person company, right? Talking to me, a 16 people company. And he's like, and thank God, he's like, I'll pay for your first thing. So this is my recommendation. And looking back now, what I should have done in the first place is David Parr. I almost bailed on this meeting because I was nervous. And then I didn't want to look like an idiot. And I didn't want my ego to show that I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, how can I go sit in this room with this guy, like Rob's suit, and like this guy like coaches La Tortilla Factory execs and Sonic Internet execs and all these California big companies executives, and he works with CEOs. And I'm just like, at the time, I'm still covered in concrete because I would do the concrete and then work all night to find the job. I'm like, what? This is, I don't know about this. I'll just quit, right? It's easier than be showed that you're dumb or whatever, that you don't know what you got going. So thank God I didn't cancel. Accepted me with David. Right away, David would change my life. 10 years ago, I'd never have made it here without David or any kind of coaching. So he walks in, super cool. What's your problems? You have to like interview to get in with them. So he has to see, do you have an ego? Are you coachable? Are you greedy? You know, because business isn't always about money, because money is whatever. You can have your opinion about money. But if you're on an island and it was just you and all the money in the world, it'd be pretty fucking boring unless you wanted to like burn money or do something. I don't know what you do with it. But there's a lot of pieces to being self-employed that you got to grasp. So he said, oh yeah, you're coachable. You're willing to give people money to help you, right? Like if your business is doing really good and you don't want to die because you can't handle it all by yourself, you're willing to give up some profits to good people to be part of it, right? And so he found these things, and then then it was fun. Then it was on with David. I think he had fun with me. I was his only owner. So second meeting in, what are your problems? Oh, these guys, I tell them all this stuff. They don't freaking get it. They do it wrong. He's like, well, where's your policies? Policies? Where's your procedures? What's that? Like, did you write it down? No. He's like, well, it sounds like it's your problem, man. Like, you talk so fast and no one knows what's going on. Like, how do you think these guys are going to run when you have like no procedures, no policies? You're going out to these jobs, you're spitting everything 90 miles an hour because I talk fast and I'm intense. They don't know what the hell's going on. And so the last thing you say is the first thing they do. That's 100% your fault as the leader, right? Like you didn't make a clear path. So what David was awesome. This guy coached me. I think at the time, we had reverted back to like 12 guys. And in like 2 years, we went from like 12 guys, 35 guys. I wasn't dying. We had operations. We had like dispatching going on. I was letting it go to let it grow, delegating. But I'll touch on that real quick. It's not as easy as let it go to let it grow. We had to change from like very fancy concrete to like production, right? Because you got to let things slide. And you know, when you run a business, shit's going to happen. And looking back now, all the stuff I'd get on about my guys, I screwed up the same stuff, but I have paid for it, right? So like we all make mistakes. We all grow in our mistakes. And like having a business and like letting your people make those mistakes is very hard when you're a founder, right? Like if you came from no money, you like construction is high risk, low reward, right? Especially you dirt work guys and you guys get in bunch, you put your family house on the freaking line. You got some gnarly contractor. You're in the weeds with contracts. You're in the weeds with exclusions, inclusions, change orders, management. Like it's crazy. So to say, oh yeah, sorry, you just gotta let it go to let it grow, man. You'll be like, what? Like there's tons of money on the table. So he taught me some valuable lessons that people can take away or whatever. First of all, coaching is great. Like eliminating the problems of learning on your own. I did so much shit on my own the wrong way. Looking back now, I'd take a coach any day, right? Because they have already experienced it. They know you pay the money for the experience. And when I first sat down and he told me it's $375 an hour, I was like, this is insane. I can't afford it. When I was done with him, I'm like, what I know now how to give you anything you want, because he also teaches you about humans, about everybody has something they can do, right? And as the owner, the leader, you're trying to find out. You might have the wrong person in the wrong seat. Like my problem is I just blamed everybody, but it was my fault. Like I don't explain things clearly. I didn't have a written policy. We didn't do training, right? And like I might have a guy in the wrong thing. He said he's a finisher when he started. He sucks at finishing, but I fired him. I should have found out if he was good at tying rebar. I should have found out if he wanted to set forms. I should have found out if he wanted to be on a path to become a great finisher. I should have found out a lot more about him. And then, so that's what David helped me, like learning how to get the confidence to go up to somebody and say, I hired you as a blade hand, and you said you were the world's greatest blade hand, but you can't hit the ground with that blade. But we have a spot for you because I need someone to set cones. And this is the path to get you there, right? And like, that's what changed my life, is being able to read people, look at people, and know when it's time to call, right? Like, that's the hardest part. You get a good employee, and sorry if I'm getting off the rails and keep me in line, but a lot of business owners, you're going to get some great employee, or you're going to get this employee and he's not cutting it, but you like him. He's your buddy, or he's cool, or Joe's a good guy, but you don't want to hurt his feelings. But then all of a sudden you have enough of Joe and you haven't held it up and you never had a conversation with him about how much he's not doing the job right. And then you just blow a gasket on Joe and you fire Joe. It happens. I did that like 25 times, right? But it's not fair to Joe, because as the owner, as a leader, you should tell Joe he's not cutting it, but we have this path over here for you. So what I got out of David that is so valuable is learning how to deal with people, learning how to delegate, learn how to understand financial statements, understand how to calculate your true overhead, because what's on your profit and loss, there's also this little thing called a balance sheet over here that has all your bills and everything. And you got to find out what is your real money, right? And then policies, procedures. So by the time I left David, we have a policy for everything. We have a policy how to strip a pool deck. We have a policy how to strip a Berk system wall. We have a policy, a checklist for the day that we're going to go do some demo. What's the checklist? Do we have vacuums? Do we have saws? Do we have cones? Do we have delineators? Check, 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 check. You know, procedures for everything, how the office operates, you know, how we do payroll, how you do your 401k, how we do health insurance, how you save a file, how you do extra worksheets. So like, that for me was not fun because I hated homework, and that shit's close to homework, and I like physical stuff. But the reality for running a business is you're so far, in my opinion, and this is for me, I'm so far from what I liked when I started, right? Like, I didn't imagine that I'd be doing so much homework, and I'd be getting calls with HR problems, and I'd be doing contracts, and I'd be doing I'm not even close to what made me love concrete. But that's the step you have to take if you want to be a business owner, in my opinion, right? Like, my way is not the right way. I'm not the all-know. I still am working on, I haven't made it, right? But you just got to have like, if someone told you when you were 18 or told me when I was 21, Kyle, owning a business is nothing that you like, right? So you have to learn how to get good at it, right? You have to learn, are you going to be a contractor? And so the day you get your license, you're not the tradesman, you're the contractor. And what does that mean? Pricing, contracts, liens, billing, safety, people problems, right? And so that's the eye opener. But without David was great because he'd been through it, and I would go to him once a month and he'd give me homework, and I'd come back. By the time I'd come back to him, I was so fucking over it. And then he'd revamp me again and get me on some new thing to work on. And then he'd send me out the door, and I'm like, I'm going big, you know, I'm freaking, David's got all my problems fixed. So, and that's like coaching, right? Like, you got to be held accountable when you're on the top. And it's low. It's not low. If you don't have a bunch of business owners to sit down and have lunch all the time, it's pretty weird because you're just calling the shots. And at a young age, it's difficult because I deal with people. I mean, thank God I went bald at like 24 because I finally was using it to my advantage. I'm like, dude, if I just take my hat off, this guy ain't going to think I'm 24. Maybe he'll give me a little more respect because I'm running 50-year-olds. And they're like, I'm not listening to this kid. And it's like, I'm the boss. And it's like, you know, like, age doesn't matter. It's how quick you grasp it, right? So hopefully that was kind of some guidance, or I kind of went off the rails, but yeah, that
was, you hit so many very, very interesting, very spot on points, things and that's probably why we gravitated together, because SOPs, policies, all of it, process, checklists, like figuring out how to put everything in my brain on a piece of paper so somebody can accurately and clearly follow and hopefully lead them to success every time. My brain didn't work like that, boy. It doesn't go that. It doesn't jive like, oh, well, we made this mistake 3 times. Well, let's stop making the mistake. How about that? Instead, no, let's write up a process and procedure how to get to success so failure might not be an option. And so I learned that the extreme hard way, like the hardest way possible. And then I had a gentleman sit me down at a coffee, just like, as I would call David. He's a doctor, entrepreneurial doctor, and sniffed out the problems and found the symptoms and stuck the stethoscope, and he figured out Kyle and knew how to motivate Kyle, but also knew how to fix your problems, to see the value in what he's doing. Yes, he has the experience because he's sitting there. You'd be like, oh my God, I have all of this happening all at once. And you just drop this problem on him and he'd sit there and smile halfway through. And he already has the answer. And it's so simple. And I'm just taking a guess because there's people like this in my circle. He was probably sitting there and figuring out your symptoms. And I've had people like that in my life. And if it wasn't for a guy sitting down and at a coffee house, and I was complaining and moaning and groaning, like, I don't know how to fix it. It's so frustrating. And you don't know how to fix it because you don't know what you don't know. And you've never lived through it. And he sat me down. He's like, you need to be at this coffee house tomorrow at 8:00. I'm sitting you down. We're talking. And he sits across the table from me and says, the only thing that you need is processes and plan and strategy, and lay this out clearly out of your head. Start giving these people the information they need to be successful. Please and thank you. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Well, then go find somebody that does. There's fractional people out there. And I'm like, what's a fractional person? Well, they're an expert at what they do, and they fractionally work on your business at their specific job duty. What? So there's like people out there that will help me do this? Yeah, man. And you just don't know because you're so, you're pouring concrete at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. If it's not on a podcast or YouTube, you're probably not catching the evening news. And same here, dude, so you don't know what you don't know. And then I went looking for it. But just like you've got, David, I've had some absolutely crucially influential people. I swear to God, I mention it every single episode. And I hope that encourages you guys to understand that it may be your direct competitor. He may be a mentor to you or a advisor to you. It may be great advice, maybe bad advice. That's for from your experience to know. But if you don't have somebody you can go to, like Kyle's David, like my Eric's, like, you've got to find some people, man, because it is absolutely the way you get over a lot of the, as you would probably agree, Kyle, like the entrepreneurial hurdles that you don't even understand that are in front of you, if that makes sense. And they have, because they've been there,
100%. Yeah. To touch on that is like one eye-opening thing is you're going to be a business owner, not the tradesman. And so that's a tough transition, right? So, and there's different businesses and where you want to take it. But if you're looking for freedom, then you want to figure out that, because in my opinion, there's I don't know. For me, when I left my boss, I thought I was just going to be free. I wasn't really worried about the money. I was like, I'm going to be free. I'm 21. I'm on my own. That wasn't a thing for 15 years. There's no freedom because everything's on you. And your schedule is your customer's schedule. You don't make your own schedule unless you're the developer. And that might be, and he might have the bank schedule, right? Like self-employed it's a false thing sometimes, man. Like you think you're free, you think you make your own schedule, but if you don't want to piss a lot of people off, you don't have your own schedule. You have the schedule of your customers, right? And you can't, and you got to make it work. So, hey, it's a hard thing to be like, I think what would help if people took it and you really wanted to grasp what I'm trying to say is, if you want to do your own business, make sure that you're interested in business. That'll help. Right. So there's pieces to it. Kind of trippy.
It's right on place. If I had any idea 10 years ago what I would be doing on a daily basis at this point, the first time I've been in a machine for a producing project in a very long time was this week. We were on the phone earlier and you heard the dozer click, 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 click. And dude, man, it brings you back to your roots so quickly. And, but yeah, I promise you it ain't because, take that Komatsu dozer that we had. That thing had like 2,200 hours on it. It was a fully auto GPS, blah, 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 all the things. And I'd never ran it in fully auto. Like I had just, not on a producing project though. There was somebody in that machine that knew how to operate that system efficiently. And same thing, laying pipe. I'll go out there and I'll get in the way and ask questions, see where they're at, check production, stuff like that. But there's not many times that I get to jump on a crew because I've got a phone call or I've got a meeting about the next job I've been putting together for a year that's going to be 3 months worth of work. And you just don't even understand the accounting questions that start coming at you. And you're just all of a sudden, as a CEO, you're supposed to understand all these accounting terms that you've never heard in your freaking life. And so you hit Google and you hit YouTube University as quick as possible to try and catch up. Like we've lived it. Like, I mean, you just don't know. But and if it wasn't for people that I could lean on, the one thing you hit on that I gotta say from earlier that I don't want to just skip over that can absolutely take a business down or it can absolutely launch pad it. And it's the right person in the right place or the wrong person in the wrong place. And they may be great at something else that you need in your business. But kudos to you, Kyle, because there's not many people that I meet that had the ego before, because that's how we got here. And then I'll strip that ego back, dialed it back for your people to be a better leader, to create a better work environment. Dude, there's not enough of us willing to go through because it's brutal. It's shameful. It's embarrassing because everybody's going through your financials or they're telling your team, well, you guys should be doing this. And you're like, yeah, of course, and you're like, I've never heard of that. What are you talking about? And, you're 7-8 years in, you've got, just like yourself, 20-30 guys, and you're trying to navigate all of this. And it's just so crazy. But that wrong person, I have elevated the wrong person at the wrong time into the wrong seat before and cost us gravely. Not maybe in the first little bit, but over time, just absolutely slashing the tires.
Yep, everybody's done it. I think we're all the same boat, and it's hard. It's hard to admit when you made a big mistake, right? And it's hard to be vulnerable. Same like money making things. I remember when you're learning financials, you're learning all this stuff. I think it was like 2012 when I went to my accountant and they're like, your AR is less than your AP. He's like, oh, what? No, well, don't worry, because some guys are going to pay us. And they're like, it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter if they're going to pay you. You aren't making enough money to make your bills. Like, you got a flaw here. And I remember feeling like an idiot, right? And I'm like, I don't even know what this guy's like. I'm trying to be like, don't worry, because checks are coming up. And I haven't billed a few things, so we're all good. Like, there's a few things I forgot to bill. So that AR will get above the AP. And, and then I don't know how you get that. That's like some stuff that I'm not a part of. How you get let go of feeling like not wanting to feel like an idiot all the time. But now that I'm in my 40s, I don't really care. It's been 8. For me, it's easy. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm 40. I know I am very clear about what I don't know. I'm very fast to say, I have no idea. But I'll get the right person. Right? We hired, once you get used to this coaching thing, and like you said, fractional help, we have consultants. Like I have a CPA consultant that comes in once a quarter. We have our actual CPA. Like just start hiring professionals, right? And like the money thing is part of it, but when you have free time to focus on what you're good at, the money is going to be fine, right? Instead of you over there digging in the weeds on, what would I use? A consultant that I don't want to waste my time building safety policies and trainings, right? Instead of me on the computer picking out silica training and this and that, trying to save all the money. Well, we have consultants that do that, right? They'll build up our safety policies. They'll do that. Like, and you go, oh God, that's a lot of money, but it's going to be fine because you can go do what you're really good at, and then us as business owners, me and you, our job is to get jobs. Well, that's my job. And it took me a long time. It was really hard for me to walk away from the crews because I felt like they'd be like, oh, freaking Kyle, he's just driving off and just Denali, he's just, I don't know what this guy's doing anymore. He used to work with us. He used to pour. Now he just shows up at 8 and like gives us some plans, and then all of a sudden he's gone. He's always clean, but like that's a hard transition to be like, well, my job is getting you guys jobs and you guys are all busy, right? So I think I'm doing pretty good, but it's hard to let that go. And that was like another insecurity of mine. Like, these guys are working for me, but I was like working for them. I was like doing everything for them, trying to make it as easy as possible for them. Then you get animosity, at least in my case, out of animosity against the guys. I'm like, why am I out here at 3 a.m. pouring this big ass job? And I'm saw cutting it. And at 3 p.m., they're all going home and I'm bidding jobs. Well, that's my own fault. That's my own insecurity, right? That's you as an owner. People might resonate with that, like the transition from working with your guys to running with your guys to getting jobs from your guys and being okay from walking away. Like, you hired a supervisor, you're on the job. I wouldn't recommend walking away when shit's hitting the fan. Like, still, when I show up, if shit's hitting the fan, I jump in and help out. But when there's a point where it's running smooth, let your people do the job. They can do it, right? They're going to have more pride in it if you let them do it. If you don't micromanage them, at least in my experience, they feel fulfilled. They start getting it. Yeah, there's going to be some days you're like, why did you do it like this? All right. Oh my God. Like, but it's like, you got to be like, well, the customer's happy. Like, we're going to build on that. Like, we're not going to say it's great and it's not the Harris way, but here's what we can do to fix it and let your people do your stuff and help you out.
I have a bunch of them too. And so I appreciate you finding those to join us today, because literally, man, you're hitting some vocal points that we talked about. And this is exactly what I wanted this episode to be about. And you said earlier, same struggle I had is when you started looking into these professionals and these experts to come in and help your business, you're sitting there looking at what do you mean you're $550 an hour, $300 an hour? Like, I can't afford this. But I want you guys to just listen to me for just a second. And I'm going to pick up where kind of Kyle was letting down there. He was, Kyle had said, you can be off doing what you're good at. And what he means by that is, instead of spending the 16 hours that you're going through ChatGPT and looking at your insurance policy and trying to match everything to build an employee handbook or a building safety book or whatever, job specific project safety manual, whatever it may be, all that time could be handed to somebody that could shorten the time, number one, but and it's not going to take them the amount of time to do the same that it would take you to do that said task, because that's what they do. Now, if you ask that same expert to go out there and climb on a mini X and dig you a straight ditch 200 feet, it would probably take them twice or 3 times as long as myself, because that's what I do. So why don't I go use that 16 hours to go get a job, do a job, collect on a job, rather than sit there and worry about the 16 hours that I've got to put this together, and it's got to get reviewed by somebody anyways. And they're going to be like, well, why does this say this and this say this? And you're going to get frustrated and pull your hair out, and nothing ever gets done that way. And you just hop back on the cycle of death, of never getting anywhere. And you can't afford not to, with the CPAs and the lawyers, and especially when you start dealing with contracts in the commercial world, guys, let somebody start reviewing the contracts outside of freaking ChatGPT, because they aren't there to protect you and help you. But that's a totally different subject matter. Is you have to find a way to cover that money, to cover that said subject, because you're buying time and you're buying experience. Anytime that comes across your desk in what we do, you have to double down on it. And if you don't know where to start, LinkedIn, I've said it a couple times in the last couple of weeks. It's a weapon, guys. Those people are out there on LinkedIn posting professionally, trying to acquire. For some reason, they all want to come down here in the blue collar world because I think they're just now finding out, oh, these guys need help. They don't. And you know what? They don't BS me around and give me this corporate talk. They're raw, they're real, and they'll tell me exactly what's going on so I can jump in and start to help them right away. And that's what I've heard reoccur. I just had a leadership team, shout out to Missy and Macy that were on last week. They have, huge companies, global companies sat in front of teams. Missy and Macy were just here, I believe it was last episode, and they have built a business around leadership, teaching people like me and you how to be better leaders for the team that are below us, so we can hopefully retain a few folks and not have to deal with, turnover every other week as some of these companies seem to deal with. And so, man, it's just so important to go find a resource of some sources. I guess that's a lack of a better term, to point you in the right direction, to give you some strategy. I just did it this past weekend, kind of crazy. I just took a flight, went down. A guy had some time for me, and I went and sat down with him, and it was, 5 hours of his time and my time, but it was invaluable to my mindset moving forward in what my direction should be and what my goals and plans should be. So, no, man, I think you've hit it completely on the head when it comes to that point. And just, again, kudos for being open about, hey, man, I was the 20. I built my business through my 20s as well. We already have that. I got to prove the world wrong mentality. Nobody takes it serious because we got the 20-year-old face, and you got to work harder than everybody. And so we've kind of had the same similar story, but to hear, you strip that back and go looking for the resources to help you and your team, is amazing, man. And I wanted to highlight it today. But one of the last things I got for you, I want to hear about, we've talked more entrepreneurial stuff. I want to hear specific working in California. I've heard so many people complain about it over the years. What is some specifics that, we don't hear about, say in the southeastern region of the United States or anywhere else in the 49 other beautiful states of this wonderful country, and some of the things that just completely caught you off guard, and some of the things that you may be like, you know what? Everywhere should do this, but they don't. So give us some of them.
Sweet. I got it. That was the most asked question at Dirt World 2025. How do you work in California? You're from California? It's like, yeah, we're all nuts. But little clear to the air. I'm in a farm town in California. We used to feed the whole nation in eggs. Petaluma, California used to be the egg capital of the world. Dairies, ranch. We're like an hour north of San Francisco. So California's crazy. And I only know California, but I'll tell you the things that have gotten crazy in my 20 years of doing business. So lots of regulation, lots of bureaucracy. Sonoma County is trying to be the most greenest place in the world. California is the greenest state, and Sonoma County is trying to be the most green county in California. So through the years, they've, in my opinion, made concrete very difficult for everybody out there. We got to have a certain percentage of fly ash to meet low carbon PIX designs, right? And you got to have all the good sealers. They took out all the low VOCs. So I don't do colored concrete. I don't seal concrete. And they've changed so many things to make it hard. So the product's not as good, in my opinion, as pure cement mixes and big rock mixes. And you can do all the additives in the world. But in my opinion, pure cement concrete is the best concrete. That's how it was made, right? You start putting all this slag and fly ash and stuff to meet these carbon compliances. You got shrinkage issues. You got color variances. it's tricky, but you roll with the punches. I mean, the thing with California, there's a lot of money here, right? There's a lot of customers. Up until last year, our bread and butter was wineries. We did wineries for a decade. We're in the wine country, Napa Valley, Sonoma County, Russian River Valley. Like there's a lot of money, a lot of opportunity, but you just learn as you go. Like I remember I always use this sealer. I use the same sealer from 2006 to 2012, right? And then all of a sudden, every job we're doing is hydrolocking. And this is back when I did fancy concrete. Now we do structural concrete. So like we did a lot of architectural concrete in the beginning, but there's I can go down a rabbit hole of that. But just little funny things is I go to the world of concrete, 2012, I'm like, take a sealer class. I'm like, I don't understand it. From 2006 to 2010, I never had a problem. Now everything's hydrolocking, every sealer is whiting out. And I go to this sealers application class put on by Glaze and Seal, and the first 25 words, the guy's like, so let me guess, if you're in California, you've been having this problem since 2010, right? And it's like, what the heck? This guy, like, how does he know this? He's like, oh yeah, they changed all your VOC rules. Like the product is not even close to the same anymore. Unless you're in the other 49 states, that's still the same, right? So in California, they pull your VOC for all this carb compliant stuff and air board. And so now I have nothing but problems. So my solution was, I don't do color concrete. I don't seal concrete, right? I'm done with color concrete. Great concrete. And so there's a lot of craziness in California, but also we poured 2 jobs a day and it's kind of rainy. Like we don't have big weather, right? Like California is in Sonoma County is stable, man. Like I could work almost 365 days a year. It is the best weather for concrete. We're 40 minutes from the ocean. Every night it gets 50 degrees, no matter how hot it gets. We get like 5 days that are 100 degrees. Most of the time it's 75 and sunny. And I mean, even like a rain, I got humbled with my wife at the time when we were dating. She moved to New York for a year for this job. And in California, when it's raining, you're like, it'll go away, right? Like this, like it starts raining in the morning, but you're like, in an hour, it's going to be gone. So you're like pouring, you're like, whatever, it'll be gone. We went to New York and it started raining. We looked like the biggest Californians ever. It came down. I never seen such a thing. The streets were flooded. I was running in the store, about $150 freaking umbrella. I'm in sandals in New York. I'm like, what the hell? So California, there's good things for California for construction, right? Like we don't get nervous if there's a rainstorm, like next week is going to say it's going to rain all day, then we'll like entertain that. But today it's like, oh yeah, there's some rain. It's a 1/4 inch of rain all day. We poured 95-yard slab in Forestville. It rained a little bit. You put some plastic down, go inside, have your lunch, come back out. It's not going to rain all day, right? So you got good weather, but you know, the things that everyone wants to hear for sure, those are the product issues, right? That's the compliance issue. If you're doing demo and stuff, you got to meet all this recycling, right? You got to track how much of this stuff got recycled. You're demoing a job, we're going to fill out all these forms. I got in trouble just recently because I thought I had a low carbon mix, but it wasn't low carbon enough for Marin County. So I had to drop it even more fly ash, more stuff, which means cracks, right? It means that you're going to call me and be like, Kyle, this thing cracked. And you're going to go, I think you need to come look at it. And I'm like, Sai, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen a lot of cracks. I don't think I need to come look at it. Like, it's cracked. But this is the reason, right? The homeowner doesn't want to hear, well, this is why it cracked, because they added this fly ash to meet Marin County's crazy green standard. And that is a byproduct of coal. And that makes shrinkage. And that makes strength very slowly, right? Like when cement makes strength fast, fly ash will keep making strength longer. But like no homeowner wants to hear this chemical mess, you know? So it's put a strain on contractors. The biggest problem that I've seen in California over the last decade is that everybody is so nervous of being sued all the time. I don't know if it's like that where you're at, but engineers are changing the plan as we're in the middle of it. We're doing this big podium. You know what a podium deck is? 2-story concrete. So podiums, once you get above ground, put all this, you know, we use this Loomis shoring system plywood. We got like 16 post-tension girders through this house. Is this crazy house, right? 25,000 square foot house. 2-story, like the bottom story is 9,000 square foot garage is beautiful. Second story is 24 inch thick double matte slab. It's cool. customer's badass. So we're building these girders, and the engineer comes out. I recalced it. The thing's already formed. Like, I think it should be 4 feet deep and 24 inches. And you're like, what? It's like, I do concrete for a living, man. Like, we got to do it right the first time. Like, maybe if the engineers tried that, right? That'd be something. Like, engineer the job right the first time. So what we find out here a lot, and it's super frustrating, and it gets into your overhead. California, you got to run overhead, man. You got to have people. Like, I have 2 field supervisors that I shouldn't even need. 15 years ago, I didn't need these guys. But these guys protect us because they're looking. Is this the right plan? Did we get the new plan? Did we RFI this? Oh, we're about to pour tomorrow. We got a new plan. Oh, they added 15 bars in this footing and widened it 3 more inches, right? Like, it just seems chaotic out here because everyone's so nervous of getting sued. We have earthquakes. So structurally, things are overbuilt. I went and did a house in Reno for a customer. And that we're like, out here, we're used to, you have an engineer's observation. I don't know if it works like that for you, but structural concrete, big commercial jobs, the inspection process is this. It seems crazy. You got 3 days of inspections. Number 1 day, engineer's observation or special inspection. They go in either order, but you got to have an engineer's observation, which is someone from the engineering office comes out to say everything looks like the drawing. You submitted shop drawings. Everything's correct. And they normally come up with something. So I like to leave easy things for them. Those are your little tips. You want to come to California and pass some inspections, just leave the obvious out. And they'll be like, golly, forgot the dobies. Sorry, engineer, I'll put the dobies in. Good. Then you got a special inspector. That's a third-party inspector on behalf of the engineer and for the county. And then when you pass all of that, then you got a county inspection. So that's crazy, right? You miss one of those. It's like, in concrete is like planning a wedding every day, right? Like out here, I don't know what it's like out there, but concrete is a month out. If you want to pour, you are booked out a month. So like my dispatcher every day is booking concrete and scheduling for March already, right? Middle of March. This month's booked. And everybody's busy because there's a lot of work out here. It's slowed down a little bit right now, but you got to be on the ball. So one of these engineers decides I want to change something or inspection goes bad. Now you're kicked 3 weeks, right? It's crazy. So it's like, those are my things that some of the other state people might think is crazy. Because when I went to Reno and did that house, I kind of started this conversation and then veered off it. But I'm calling the inspector and he's like, dude, I'm your only inspector, man. It's like, we dig the foundation. I'm like, do we need to have the engineer come? You need a special inspector? He's like, no, man, I'm your inspector. And I'm like, well, what about this? And he's like, you guys are crazy. He's like, dude, just send me pictures, man. Like, I don't need to come out here anymore. You guys are over the top. Like, it's like when we go to other states and we don't often, it's like, contractors in California are pretty used to like a lot of being on the ball, right? Are the details, submitted mixed designs, all these inspections, like we're pretty uptight. And I feel like when I went to other states, for the better or whatever, I don't know if everyone has earthquakes. You guys have other things, right? Tornadoes or hurricanes in different states and different natural disasters. But earthquake being pretty gnarly, it's pretty like intense on the structural stuff of it. And so that would be a crazy thing for California. Taxes are high, fuel's high, but wages are high. Money's high, right? Like customers are high. I moved away from like the common residents to do like the residential we do now is for someone who's building a 10,000 to 25,000 square foot house, right? They're spending $7 million to $30 million on their house, right? And those are like structural jobs. And then we have wineries and we have affordable housing complexes. And we have like bigger business things that can afford bigger business bills because your overhead's high in California, right? And I don't know, what does concrete cost in Arkansas? A yard? Do you know by any chance?
I think it's about $185, $195 a yard right now.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so that's the same. Out here, if you're Joe Blow off the street and you don't have accounts, probably like $235, but contractor that's busy, $185. So
that's
price is about the same there.
Yeah, but I was going to say retail would probably be $225, probably every bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's expensive, and wages are high out here. People make good money in Sonoma County, and Yeah, but then one other crazy thing that would affect all dirt work people and people that listen to your podcast is just the carb compliance. Anyone from California knows it, right? You can't have that carb thing. That can got kicked for years, right? It's supposed to be 08. You're supposed to have all of these tier 4 machines and nothing older than, at the time, 2009, right? And then the can kicks. So the next year, and the can kicks. So some poor companies went out. This one poor company out of Napa, they're a great company. They tried to follow the rules. They get all new machines and everything. The recession hits, they go out of business. People that aren't following the rules are like, California is guilty of making these extreme rules. Like, we're not going to sell gas cars in 2035. That can's going to get kicked till 2050, right? Like, we make these big rules, but if you've been here long enough, you know that those all get kicked. Now carb is strict, right? Now you need to have tier 4 stuff, or there's a balance of horsepower in your company and new versus old. But that makes it real hard for a guy that's starting out, like a brand new. I couldn't do it today. Like, my first work truck I bought in 2007 was a Chevy 3500 flatbed dually diesel with a 12-foot harbor bed, which is a sweet truck. $36,000, right? I'm like, oh my God, this truck payment's $550. How am I ever going to make this thing? That truck's $110,000 today, like, that's insane. Like, for companies that are building things, and you got to know how to chart, like, how do you charge for that work truck? You better understand that that's a tool, right? That's $25-$30 an hour. That better be built into something. Your tractors. I just bought a brand new 305, and I bought a brand new 305 in 2010, and I bought one in 2017, and I bought one last year. And the first one was $46,000, and the next one was $60,000, and this one was $110,000, right? So it's like, it's just some crazy inflation when you've been around. You start swapping machines out, and that's not. I'm sure that's the same in every state, right? So I guess where I'm going with this long-winded conversation is there's some goods in California where things are very expensive, and my company trucks and my equipment is the same as Georgia, right? Like, I feel like I was Ford F-450 decked out. I'm sure it might be a little bit less because the real estate on the property is less at the dealership, but you're paying $90,000 to $100,000 outfitted if you're in Ohio or California. We're paying the same for the truck, the chain of the track. So the good thing that I'm saying in here is it is off. All the craziness and the high taxes is offset with higher rates, right? A lot of opportunity, a lot of customers. A long working year. Now, if you're in Tahoe and you're north, you're going to get whacked by snow. But if you're down here in Sonoma County, or you're in San Diego, or you're in LA, those guys don't know there's no seasonal work. Like construction. I got into concrete because I love snowboarding. I thought I was just going to be off every 3 months for 3 months in the winter and snowboard, because that's how it was when I was young. I'd be the first one to be like, I'm young, I got nothing, you can lay me off. I'm going snowboarding. I'm going to Tahoe. I'm going to tuck in this cheap hotel for 4 months, and then I'll see you in the summer. That's not a thing, man. We work all year round. We don't have there's no winter break. There's no stuff like that. So that's like a plus of California. Yeah, you got to do corporations, right? Like, I'm not a sole proprietor. You'll get killed. I don't want to get fried by the IRS if they're listening to you. But if you're in California, you got to understand business entities and write-offs, and that's how you shield yourself from all the taxes, and that's probably the same anywhere that has a high state tax. If you're, like every state, you got to figure out how to keep it, because even if you're buying write-offs to avoid taxes, well, the next year that payment is now income. So we did the depreciation this year, and you didn't amortize it over 3 to 5 years and wash out your payments versus your write-off. You just take the bonus depreciation this year, and now you got 3 years of payments. Well, that money you made is income, right? So not only are you making the payment, you're paying taxes on the money that you made to make that payment. So that's where it gets to business. That's where it gets to finances, right? There's ways to navigate all these taxes and stuff. And at the end of the day, you make your company better. You do more tools, you reinvest, and you got to learn it. You got to be up on it. You get consultants. What's this thing? Bring that lawyer in. What's this new employee law? Oh, they just got rid of we used to have a self-employed tax ceiling. So I don't know what it's like for you in your state, but California is insane to be self-employed. Before you make anything, it's self-employed tax. Is it like that in Arkansas? You have a self-employed tax?
Self-employment tax is 15.37, I think.
Yeah, it's insane. So
Yeah.
you make $1,
You got to
you're
do
giving up
whatever you got to
15%.
do to afford it.
Yeah. So that's my gist on California. It is getting tougher and tougher and crazier, but like the politics stuff that people see in general is not our farm town community. Like if you came and visited us, you'd probably think that everyone's pretty similar. Been lucky to have a great group of friends. Like as I've grown older in chase business and let go of my party friends and let go of this and became like friends with business owners and do things with business owners, I got a couple really good friends that I feel are way more successful than me that we talk. Like me and my buddy Jake talk every morning, 5 o'clock when we're driving somewhere. My buddy Greg's like been successful, third generation company guy. I got a guy, Nicky, that has a clothing company. My brother, like we have a circle of people that you talk to and you help each other out with like, how do you navigate this new thing? Oh, did you see this new rule? How'd you do this? Are you guys doing your silica training? Are you guys doing your job site active shooter training? Like you kind of just talking to a like-minded group of people and figure out how to navigate it, you know? And so, yeah, I feel like San Francisco, LA, it's pretty crazy. Petalima's not far off from where you're at, probably.
I mean, there's some of that in there. We could go of like, yeah, definitely. When you said 5 inspectors in 3 days or whatever it was to pour a footer is kind of silly. Yeah, it is. But at the same time, no, that's a good way of putting it for us. I mean, that definitely, if you have an open mindset, you could definitely understand how that could offset. Of course, it's just like anywhere else, but definitely different from here for sure.
Yeah,
Brother, I've got. Go ahead.
I don't know if I touched on what you wanted to. You can ask anything specific that you want. I could help you with too.
Nah, dude, you nailed it.
I appreciate your interest in me. I want to make sure that you're getting out of it what you want. You know, anything you want to ask, I'll let you know.
No, for sure. Tell the audience where we can find you, buddy.
So you can check out Instagram at Harris Company Concrete. And we have a website, harriscompanyconcrete.com. We're out in Sonoma County. If you have a job out here that you want us to look at and you're in the Sonoma County, California area, we're estimating at harriscompanyconcrete.com. You can send plans. My email is kyle@harriscompanyconcrete.com. And Sonoma County, California. And trying to keep going, man. Just learning and going.
Blue Collar Performance Marketing's passion is to bring attention to the honest work done in blue-collar industries through effective, results-driven marketing tactics. They specialize in comprehensive digital marketing services from paid advertising on Google and Facebook to website development and content strategy. I started working with Ike and the team earlier this year, and they've had a huge impact on our specific marketing campaign and trajectory of our overall company. Their expertise in digital ad management, website development, social media, and overall marketing strategy has been an absolute game changer for our sales and marketing at Sycon. If you're looking to work with a marketing team who does what they say, does it well, and is always looking for ways to help your company grow, book a discovery call with Ike by going to bcperformancemarketing.com/BCB podcast or click the link in the show notes /description below. Thanks, guys. I would encourage you concrete guys, and I actually had my manhole, and we do cast in place out here on all our elevated structures, and he does manholes and storm boxes for us, and had him on here. So you're not the only concrete guy that's been on here, but man, I got to tell you, I hope some guys that are listening in the concrete lane reach out, because Kyle's an absolute OG who's figured this out through hardcore experience, and I can tell that by talking with him, not just today, but guys, he's one of the real ones, is what I got to say. And you can tell, like we said earlier on in the show, really quick if somebody's learned from experience or not. And so, man, I ask everybody on the show this same question, but right here at the end, if you were sitting there as a blue collar guy, just trying to get it through the end of the day, what's a takeaway for that guy, mentally, emotionally, physically, getting unstuck out of the mud, man, mentally, physically, emotionally, you get down, 08, all those years. What's the one thing that helped you kept trucking through, my dude?
Yeah, don't silo yourself. Start talking to people. You'd be surprised at who's in the same boat. Start looking at people that you think are mentors. Tell them what you got going on. Be transparent. Ask them about coaching. Ask advice. Open your ears. Be ready to listen. Be ready to learn. And start trying to put your ego away. That's a really hard one. And learn fast what you don't know. And be okay with that.
Man, I ask everybody on the show, literally 75 plus episodes, I think we're at, man. It's unbelievable. You've shared your story a little bit about 08 and some of the hard times and hard lessons that you had to learn through experience. But maybe go back to that 21-year-old kid who was sitting there going, man, I know everything and I know better. And I'm going to go off and do my own thing because I'm tired of being stuck in the mud, whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally. But give a piece of advice to the audience that can help them.
Yeah, my advice to someone, stuck in your head, stuck in a rut, can't get it going, is don't silo yourself. Reach out to mentors. If you're dealing with vendors, I don't know if you're in dirt work, you have a salesman, you have somebody, start telling them you're struggling or what's your issues. And I found all the time that like successful people will help people that they think are interested or want to work hard. Like I've got a lot of tips out of people that are super successful, just asking questions, looking up to people that you want to be and just asking them questions. A lot of time they'll take you in. Oh, so this is what you do. I got a guy for this, or they'll give you advice. Most successful people are pretty interested in you being successful, especially if you're a customer. So,
well, guys, we will catch you on the next one. Kyle's having a little bit of trouble with that California internet out there. You guys be safe. We will catch you on the next one. Be safe. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with the fellers, check out our website to send us any questions and comments about your experience in the blue collar business. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have. Till next time, guys.